am in Miami, and I just got my rental car, and I have no idea where I'm going first. I didn't have time to research this at all. So before me spread out notes from watching some YouTube videos and my life list and the new ABA list, because I know there's some parrots and parakeets I don't have. And my, let's see, how old is this book? 27-year-old book. Time to make some decisions. I don't even know where I'm staying tonight. First thing I usually do, get some groceries, and I'm gonna go over to that parrot roost when I'm done here. But I went to Whole Foods Co-op, fancy one in Coral Gables. I'm trying a new system. Instead of a wasteful, environmentally unfriendly styrofoam cooler, I'm trying a double bag thing. So I got this outer hot cold bag and then inner cold bag, and I got even shrimp in there. I could not find bubbler, so I'm trying a new brand, and I'm very excited about the Icelandic key lime skier. Had it in Iceland when I was there, and Norway. I'm here at Brewer Park, but no parrots or parakeets yet. I don't know. Eating my Whole Foods meal, waiting. How long do you wait, you know? I was kind of amazed at the number and abundance of green iguanas. I really hadn't been seriously birding down in Florida since 2002, you know, mostly trips with Bridget and I and the kids, and it was dramatic. They were everywhere. Well, we got two species of parrots right now, the red-faced and the chestnut-winged. So and Matt Warner from North Carolina clued me in on how to identify them, and we've had a fun time talking here. For sure. Here at Brewer Park, so let's see what else flies in here at dusk. Chestnut-fronted Macaw was a stunner, but not yet countable by the ABA. Has not been established long enough, but the red masked parakeets were lifers and countable by the American Birding Association, so thrilled with that, even though they are not native to North America. They have been established in the Miami area since 2004.
Anywhere between 105 to 110 degrees in some of our neighborhoods. Yesterday, we set a record high in Miami with 96 degrees. The peak heat index was 108. Relative humidity, 70, 80, 90% range. Factor that into the actual air temperature, and it feels like the 90s in triple digits already.
Right, these Publix, or no, that was from Whole Foods bag idea. I thought avoid using styrofoam. Didn't cut it. The low last night was like 83. It's like a sauna out here. Yeah, sauna. Matt Warner, who I met yesterday at Brewer Park at the Parrots, came through for me again and suggested we meet at Black Point Marina and try and find the mangrove cuckoo that had been reported on eBird. First thing I noticed when I pulled up was the feral cats, multiple, and the tame raccoon. But then I saw the yellow-crowned Night-Heron who was staking out the parking lot. That was a new one for me to see a tame yellow-crowned Night-Heron. And then he kind of struck this pose and he was sunning. I've never seen that in one of the Night-Herons. So pretty cool. He just spread his wings, soaking up that morning sun, kind of like a turkey vulture would do. It could have something to do with ectoparasites on the feathers as well. But yeah, I got to watch him getting drinks out of the puddles in the roadway. Kind of fun. Get out of an air-conditioned car to this humidity. Your camera just fogs right up. Mangrove cuckoo just flew overhead. When I first pulled in here to Black Point Marina, the nature trail, biking trail, heard him calling, and then Matt came over and it landed right in front of us in a tree. It was kind of buried in the leaves. Got 5 crappy photos. But they were enough to see the identifying field marks like the bicolored bill, yellow lower mandible, black upper mandible, the rufous buffy orange belly, and the black mask. Plus we got to hear the distinctive call as well. Fortunately, they made another appearance. Sadly, I didn't get any video or photos, but I did see one fly off with a beak full of caterpillars. So pretty cool that they're nesting near there. Matt had to go to work, but while I waited for the cuckoos to make another appearance, got to enjoy these crazy looking blue land crabs. And they were very sensitive to any movement, and if they saw me even twitch, they'd run down their burrows in the mangroves. Already sweating through my shirt. It's like a sauna. But yeah, I found some cool spiders. And now off to somewhere else. I don't know where. Then I remembered Matt had said there's common Mynas in the parking area of the marina, and sure enough, and that was a lifer. Once again, introduced species, but I'll take it. My next stop was thanks to eBird, a cave swallow colony at this beautiful / not so beautiful drainage ditch and highway underpass, but there they are with their pale throats, unlike cliff swallows. And yeah, spent some time with them trying to get some shots on the wing, which is always tough, but the R5 handled it if they came close enough. Now off to the Keys, that quirky part of North America with topless mermaids and topless men. And of course, pink manatees holding mailboxes. You never know what you're going to see in the Keys, to be honest. My first stop was at John Pennekamp, Coral Reef State Park. Ah, the sounds of nature. Leaf blower in a state park. But there were a couple of the iconic birds of the Keys floating overhead. Magnificent Frigatebird. And I got some of my best photos ever of this species with a 7.5 foot, nearly 8 foot wingspan, which would dwarf me at 5'10", though my kids say I'm 5'9", but they're little liars. Easy. Also walked the Tamarin Trail through a tropical hardwood hammock, really unique habitat. Here is the king of woodland spiders. I don't know if you can see this. This is Nephila clavipes. It's huge, huge spider. Orb weaver. And this web is about 3 feet across, spans about 8 feet. He's got a bee. She has caught a bee. Look at those tufts at the joints of the legs. I would also recommend a stop at the visitor center. It's more than a visitor center. It's got this amazing display of underwater coral reef. Someday I'm going to rent some snorkel gear and get out and explore the offshore reefs. But this gave a nice background of what to expect, you know, just off the shore of the state park. It was also air conditioned, which was pretty nice. I continued south down the Keys to Big Pine Key. On the way, seeing some of the original Henry Flagler's Overseas Railroad from the early 1900s and some of the most recent hurricane damage. I really wanted to get a decent photo of one of the tiny key deer, and I love this key. It's not as nearly as populated, of course, as Key West. But I got a bonus. The poisonwood trees were in fruit, and there were white-crowned pigeons everywhere. And I gotta say, I love pigeons. They're an undervalued group of birds. They can be just stunning. And these guys were everywhere, feasting on ripe fruit. Poisonwood, this is what the white-crowned pigeons were eating. And it can cause an allergic reaction to humans. I guess the bark and the leaves and the berries, everything is, can cause a rash, allergic reaction. Kind of like poison ivy. The pigeons have night roosts where they gather together for the evening, but in the morning they disperse to feeding grounds where there's ripe fruit, such as the spot I found, and I read that it can be up to 30 miles or more from where they roost. That's quite a morning commute, even in a car. Of course, the Keys is just an outlier of their range. They're mainly a West Indian/Caribbean bird, being common in Cuba, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. Nearby I could hear a gray kingbird. He was way up high on some branches. Got a few photos, but you could really see that massive bill. Next I went over to Blue Hole. Not much happening today. No alligators. It's famous for alligators. And then I popped over nearby Jack Watson Trail and finally got my first looks at key deer. And they are just so tiny. Their bodies are pretty stocky, but their legs are so short. And these were a little skittish, but I did get some clips of video. I don't know if you saw that, but that deer's head was like right here. It's like waist height, about the size of a maybe golden retriever. Later, when coming back into town, I saw a few of those key deer that had been fed by humans. In fact, I saw one person throw one banana peel out the window of its car, and it ate it. As this sign says, please don't feed us. Feeding promotes harmful behavior. This guy wants a handout from me. He must be fed, but I saw somebody give one a banana peel. But a fed deer is a dead deer, right? Not happening, buddy. Oh man, black-whiskered vireo singing nonstop. He's just buried in there. I can see him, but can't get a clear shot through all the needles. And he's just spun around in the same spot. He's not moved a bit. Oofta. But I am thrilled to have found him. Haven't seen him for 20 years probably. Now he's just taunting me. The black-whiskered vireo in North America has a real limited range, only found in the Keys and very South Florida near mangrove swamps. A little while later, I had a nice surprise. I saw a couple rails run across the road, got out, played a tape from Sibley app. Not a lifer, but first photos I've ever gotten of clapper rails. And clappers are in saltwater areas, while nearly identical king rails are found in freshwater. I love some of the older parts of Key West, and I was greeted by the old friends, the red jungle fowl that have been living amongst the people here for many decades. And I tried to make a reservation on the boat to get out to the dry Tortugas. Already booked. And yeah, you can see from these photos I was out there in 2002. Had a great time, but not to be for this trip. So I headed over to Zachary Taylor State Park, which I'd never been to. Ending the day at Fort Zachary Taylor at Key West. Oh, what we got over here? Well, persistence paid off. Got least tern and sandwich tern as well. Sandwich tern with the little yellow tip on the bill. Yeah, I have to come back here tomorrow morning. We got roseate terns flying all over. That's a lifer. Can't believe it. They usually have a black bill, but in late summer they get the kind of dark red at the base. And this was a milestone. 650 species for the ABA area. 700, here I come. It was fun to see an old friend, quote unquote, the great white heron. This is a color morph, or considered right now as a color morph of the great blue heron, really only found in the Keys. But you can tell it from the great egrets by its pale legs. But I kind of have a fondness for it because my first bird guide, the old Golden Guide, had them listed as a separate species. And I thought that was pretty cool. I always wanted to see one. But now considered a subspecies. So, one of the downsides of staying in Key West is our friend the red jungle fowl. He started crowing at like 5 a.m. Okay, here is the culprit from last night. It woke me up at before 5 a.m. It was you, buddy. Oh. Plus this. I don't know if you can see this, but you come out of your air-conditioned room and lens fogs up really badly. I forgot that there is a big military presence here, and the jets on training runs overhead made quite the racket. I'd never checked out the fort itself, which has a fascinating history. Used to be 3 stories high, started construction in 1845. It was seized right at the start of the Civil War by the Union to prevent it from falling into Confederate hands. Also played a part in the Spanish-American War, World War I and World War II. It was, I think, a radar station during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Got a nice surprise with some common ground doves on the grounds, and got a couple flight shots. They are colorful doves, like I said with the white-crowned pigeons. I do love the pigeons and doves, undervalued bird group. get away from the craziness of most of Key West, you gotta go to the Key West Tropical Forest and Botanical Gardens. Just a little island of tranquility, and yeah, very cool place. They've improved it immensely since I was there 20 years ago. I was really kind of blown away by their collection of chugs. These are boats that desperate folks from Cuba, mostly handmade, to try and get to freedom in the U.S. You just got to read the placards to really get a feel for what they went through. Pretty amazing. Check it out. All right, I'm just gonna spend about a day here in Everglades. Yeah, not many people here in mid-July. Often rangers at national parks are not that helpful with detailed natural history information, but I ran into a good one. Thanks, Maxwell. I want to hear what a pig frog sounds like. Oh, thank goodness it's a rental. Behave. These things are massive. It is really quiet here out on the Anhinga Trail. I mean, it's like 11 a.m. in the middle of the summer, but what's that? Yeah, not much yet. What do I hope to see and photograph in the Everglades? Well, cottonmouth snake for sure. I've already done it once, but the photos aren't that great. Swallowtail kite, purple gallinule with babies. Yeah, we'll see. The Gumbo Limbo Trail, and in these hammocks there's some of these tree snails, and this is a little one, but they can be stunningly beautiful. In fact, every hardwood hammock had its own color form because they were reproductively isolated. Of course, collectors and science, quote unquote, messed that up in the 50s through the 80s. Collectors had really wiped out a lot of them, and then they thought, well, let's introduce some from one hammock to another and create interesting color forms. Yeah. The Gumbo Limbo or tourist tree. The red bark signifying the sunburned skin of tourists. Got a red-shouldered hawk right up here. And when I first drove by, he was like eye level with, you know, this lush greenery around him. And then, of course, by the time I turned around, another car went by and he flushed up onto this tall snag. So not the greatest, but there's a blue sky background at least. So I'm overexposing to kind of bring out the detail. I can bring the sky back in Lightroom. But now I'm just sitting waiting, sweating, waiting for him to do something like come down, grab a snake, you know, battle with a snake. Wouldn't that be awesome? But yeah, you know, we don't get these in northern Minnesota, so, and in the rest part of Minnesota, they're pretty unusual as well. So I've never really gotten any decent photos. So, hey, that's exciting. Just heard a barred owl calling, white ibis flying over. I'm on my way to Eco Pond. And yeah, do a loop around there. It's 91 degrees, 91% humidity. And I just texted my wife and kids, have you ever hiked through a sauna filled with mosquitoes? Well, I just did at the Gumbo Limbo Trail. Well, my patience paid off with the red-shouldered hawk. It eventually dropped down. Got a few flight shots as it jumped off the perch, but it's in... Tail feathers are pretty raggedy, and it's kind of coming towards me actually, and it flared up at the last second, but I couldn't get him through that angle. And then he perched in the woods at, you know, nice above eye level, but with greenery all around him, no sky background, and pretty mellow. Got some nice shots. Also got bit really hard by a deer fly. Now I'm at Eco Pond. Bugs are bad. Once again, I went inside this visitor center to check out the displays and, to be honest, enjoy the air conditioning. But manatees, I'm kind of fascinated by manatees. Someday I want to swim with them. These are just some clips from the manatee display, but man, they are cool critters. And, well, you'll see coming up, I did get some photos. Just a few hundred yards down from the visitor center is the boat landing, and always worth a stop. Of course, my goal was manatees and crocodiles, and wouldn't you know, the manatees were playing, feeding. There was a cow and a calf, and yeah, even got some photos of their interesting mouths. They eat nothing but plants, freshwater and saltwater. And they can get up to 800, 1,200 pounds. I mean, they've been recorded up to 3,000 pounds. And they eat like 10 to 15% of their weight every day in plant material. And well, there's a good look at one's eye. They can stay down for up to 20 minutes before coming up for air. And did I tell you I nearly got eaten by a crocodile? Yeah, well, here's the story. I was sitting right on the edge of the water. I mean, right on the edge of the water at the Flamingo boat ramp because I wanted to get some of these eye-level video and photos of the manatees. You know, after about 20 minutes, I kind of had this thought in the back of my head. I'm like, this is where Bridget and I saw a crocodile quite a few years ago. Oh, this scene flashes into your head from PBS Nature of the crocs leaping out of the water to grab wildebeest as they cross some African river. And I thought, no. Well, these two guys had come up to the edge and were looking down and from the platform, and they said, have you been here before? Because there's crocodiles in these waters. And I kind of quickly stood up and backed away from the water. And I am not kidding. Like a minute and a half later, while I'm talking to Tim from Arizona and his buddy, one of these American crocodiles just swims right up to where I was. But got a chance to watch this crocodile, which missing part of the bottom jaw. I'd like to find out more about the history of this croc, but a rare species in North America for sure, and just fun to get a chance to spend some time with it. So yeah, I mean, could it have ended badly? I don't know. I should say that this video is from my iPhone, and I would have had some awesome video with my R5, but it overheated many times on this trip in the humidity, and that's because I was shooting in, of course, extreme heat, but also 8K video and 4K 120. That is tough on this camera. The good news is that even when overheating, you can still shoot stills. There were frequent torrential downpours during my entire trip, but as is often the case in Florida, they would clear up rather quickly. Well, my car is the only car in the parking lot. Everglades is pretty quiet this time of year, and I think I know why now. Just got bit by another couple deer flies, swarmed by mosquitoes. Saw a little turtle alongside the road. Let's help him get across the road. Not much bigger than these lubber grasshoppers. Little tiny guy. Oh, there's his defense. We'll help you get across the road, buddy. Okay. There you go. Woo! No wonder I was short of breath. Elevation 3 feet. I'm not gonna look down. I'm not gonna look down. I'm not gonna look down. I had a couple reasons going to Florida for some birding. I really hadn't done any serious birding there since 2002. And I've got this crazy goal to photograph 600 species of birds in the ABA area, which is the United States and Canada. And I did pretty well. These are the birds that I've photographed for the first time. I even got a few lifers like the red masked parakeet, common Myna, and the roseate tern. And yeah, and we got part 2 coming yet too. So it was also nice photographing some non-birds, the manatees, crocodiles, a few spiders and dragonflies, and of course the key deer. That was pretty cool. Also improved my collection, which you can see at sparkyphotos.com, of at least 5 species. So yeah, very successful. And yeah, in part 2, we're going to head up towards Miami and north, Johnathon Dickenson State Park, inland. We're going to look for snail kites, swallowtail kites, scrub jays, all kinds of things. We'll see you then.